With a little DIY skill and some help with heavy lifting, putting together the WD Series horizontal vertical log splitter is simple and easy. We'll assemble the 27-ton model today, but these instructions also apply to the 32-ton and 37-ton models. This video will be used as a supplement to the assembly and operating instructions in your owner's manual. Please read and review all instructions before you begin. The first step will be to unpack the crate. Use a 14mm wrench or socket and drill to remove the bolts along the bottom, holding the metal crate to the base. There's no need to remove any of the other bolts. It'll take 2 people to lift the crate off in one piece and set it aside. Next, use scissors or a knife to cut the straps holding the machinery components in place. If any parts are damaged or missing, please call customer service at 800-780-2677 before proceeding. Use your owner's manual to identify each of the hardware kits that are pre-sorted for assembling specific parts of your log splitter. Arrange the tools you'll need and assembly hardware on a clean surface before beginning assembly. You're ready to install the tongue assembly to the reservoir tank. Set the tongue beam between the upper metal plates on the reservoir tank. The M10 hardware kit that you'll use to attach the tongue assembly to the reservoir tank is found on the beam support bracket on the tank. Use a 16mm wrench for the bolt heads after the flat washers are installed on the bolt. Use a 17mm wrench to tighten the lock nuts. Now it's time to install the wheels. There are 2 methods you can do this. Method 1 is to set the reservoir tank off the ground on blocks and slip the wheel axle assembly into the sleeve from the side and secure it with a castle nut and split pin. The castle nut is tightened with an adjustable wrench from underneath. The split pin is inserted through a recess in the castle nut through the hole on the axle end. The end of the split pin are bent back using needle nose pliers around the sides of the nut to secure it. Repeat for the other side. Method 2 is to tip the reservoir tank up on end and slide the wheel axle into the sleeve and secure it with a castle nut and split pin. Use an adjustable wrench to tighten the castle nut from the side. The split pin is inserted through a recess in the castle nut through the hole on the axle end. Use needle nose pliers to bend back the ends of the split pin around the sides of the nut to secure it. Repeat for the other side. The tires are pre-inflated from our factory, but check the tire pressure before use. The tires should be inflated to 30 psi. The engine and hydraulic pump are pre-assembled, making mounting them easy. Use the hardware from Kit 5 to secure the engine pump assembly to the engine mounting plate affixed to the hydraulic fluid tank. Insert a vibration isolator between the engine and mount plate at each of the 4 mounting hole positions when inserting the bolts through the mounting holes. Secure the bolts with the nuts and then tighten them using 2 wrenches. Now we're ready to up-end the beam assembly. While it is possible for one person to complete this step, for safety's sake, we recommend 2 people lift and stabilize the assembly. Using a pry bar or claw hammer, remove the crate bottom plywood that secures the beam assembly. While having a person stand on each end of the shipping crate base, pivot and lift the beam assembly onto the wide foot base so that the hydraulics are at the top of the machine. One person will stabilize the beam assembly while the other person will lift the tongue and roll the reservoir tank assembly into place. Position the tongue and tank assembly so the beam support bracket is between the 2 tabs on the beam. Slide the clevis pin through the align holes and secure it with the spring clip. Connecting the hoses comes next. Match the numbered labels to ensure correct connections are made. Begin with the oil suction hose labeled number 1, then tighten the hose clamps over the hose and pipe under it using a flathead screwdriver or nut driver. Now connect the pump valve connecting hose labeled number 2. The red plug inside the end of the hose must be removed before assembly. Thread the nut on the end of the hose onto the top of the hydraulic pump. Tighten the hose to the nut using 2 wrenches, one on the nut and the other on the body of the pump. Failure to use 2 wrenches will result in an oil leak when the machine is operated. Now connect the oil return hose labeled number 3. Again, the red plug inside the end of the hose must be removed before assembly. Before affixing the oil return hose to the reservoir tank, ensure the O-ring sits inside the filling slot. Tighten the hose nut using a 27mm or adjustable wrench. Now pivot the beam into the horizontal position by carefully lowering it to rest on the trailer tongue and jack stand assembly. As you do so, brace the foot of the stand with your foot to stop the unit from rolling forward. The beam locks automatically as the spring-loaded lock will snap in place when the beam is put into the horizontal position. Now rotate the control handle up from underneath the valve on the handle link. Remove the bow tie cotter pin and clevis pin from the valve and use this hardware to secure the operator handle vertically. Now install the log trays using hardware kit number 6.1. The bolts connect through the main beam and secure the log trays on both sides of the unit. The tray mounting brackets may need to be flexed slightly to get all the holes to align. Then insert the bolts, thread on the nuts, and tighten them using a pair of wrenches or sockets. Mount the manual container on the side of the main beam using hardware kit 6.2. Lubricate the beam lightly with engine oil before using the log splitter. Do not use grease to lubricate the beam. The log splitter is shipped without oil in the engine or gas in the tank. The engine must be filled with the proper amount and type of oil as specified in your engine owner's manual. Fill the fuel tank with the fuel specified in your manual as well. You'll also need to fill the hydraulic fluid tank to the proper level. Use the hydraulic oil your dealers provide or any of those recommended in the log splitter's owner's manual. Check the hydraulic fluid every time you use the machine. Your log splitter is ready to use. Here are a few tips to keep you safe and your machine in top operating condition. First, always check the tightness and condition of bolts, nuts, clamps, hoses, and the wedge. Number 2, check the hydraulic fluid level each time the machine is used and fill as needed. Number 3, make sure the machine is always operated on a flat and stable surface and chock the wheels to stop the unit from rolling when being used. If you have any questions while assembling or operating your Boss Industrial log splitter, our customer service department is here to help. Give us a call at 800-780-2677. Thank you, and enjoy splitting logs like a boss.